Welcome to OOTO, the Out of the Office Investigation. I'm Alex.
And I'm Ben.
Today, we're looking into an ancient secret buried deep in the Amazon, a secret that could completely reshape our understanding of food, our personal health, and even what's possible in our own backyards. So, this whole thing kicks off with a discovery that, let's be honest, just shouldn't be possible. For decades, archaeologists and scientists exploring the Amazon basin kept stumbling upon these patches of dark, rich, unbelievably fertile soil in a place where, geologically speaking, it has no business existing. Right, Alex, and you gotta understand why this was so strange. The Amazon basin is famous for having some of the most infertile tropical soils on the entire planet. It's an ancient landscape where millions of years of heavy rain have basically washed all the good stuff away. All the life, all the nutrients, they're up in the canopy, not down in the dirt. Normally, you clear a patch of that land, you might get one, maybe two decent harvests before the soil is totally exhausted. But these pockets of black earth, they were different. They had stayed wildly productive for centuries. The people who lived there, they had a name for it. Terra Preta do Indio, or just Terra Preta. For a long time, scientists who found it just sort of waved it away. They figured, oh, it must be from a weird volcano or maybe some ancient floodplains. The idea that the indigenous people of the Amazon could have intentionally engineered a soil that was better than anything in the modern world, well, that just seemed impossible to them. It flew in the face of their whole worldview. Okay, let's really break this down because the contrast here is just staggering. Have a look at the typical Amazon soil on the left. It's that nutrient-poor, yellowish-red clay we were talking about. Now look at the Terra Preta. I mean, the color alone tells a story. It's deep, dark black, which just screams that it's packed with carbon and organic life. And we're not just talking about carbon. It has levels of phosphorus and calcium that are off the charts compared to the surrounding soil. But Alex, here's the part that is just absolutely mind-bending. Its lifespan. Some of these patches have been fertile for over 2,000 years. This wasn't natural. This was designed. Exactly. And when they finally analyzed the soil properly, they cracked the code. Mixed in with all the organic stuff you'd expect, old pottery, animal bones, fish bones, was the secret ingredient, charcoal. And this is the critical distinction. This wasn't just ash from a forest fire. This was a very specific type of charcoal made by smoldering organic matter in a low-oxygen environment. Today we call this stuff biochar. It's not a fuel, it's a soil amendment. It's like a permanent, microscopic sponge that provides a 5-star hotel for beneficial microbes and locks in nutrients and water. And this wasn't just some clever gardening trick. This was a deliberate, brilliant agricultural system that supported vast pre-Columbian civilizations. We're talking populations estimated in the millions. The first Spanish explorers who went down the river in the 1540s, they wrote about these dense settlements, towns, even cities, that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Terra Preta was how they fed everyone in a place that modern agriculture still struggles with. But then, tragically, that knowledge was almost completely wiped out. In this slide right here, this shows the fork in the road humanity took. On the one hand, you've got the Amazonian way, what we now call slash and char. They would smolder wood slowly, creating that biochar, that stable carbon sponge we talked about. It builds soil, it regenerates. On the other hand, you have the method used all over the world today, slash and burn. That's where you burn everything completely to ash, releasing all that carbon into the atmosphere and leaving the soil totally barren after just a few seasons. One method cultivates life, the other extracts it and leaves nothing behind. So what happened? Well, after European contact, diseases like smallpox and measles, diseases the native populations had zero immunity to, along with constant warfare, they wiped out over 90% of the people living in the Amazon. Their complex societies collapsed, and with them, the detailed generational knowledge of how to create and manage Terra Preta just vanished. For centuries, this incredible technique was basically a ghost story. And in that vacuum, as the world moved into the 20th century, a brand new, very different system emerged to feed the planet: industrialized agriculture. And here's the thing. While this new industrial system gave us incredible yields through machines and chemical fertilizers, it came with a huge hidden price tag that we're only now beginning to understand. A landmark study looked at the U.S. government's own data on food between 1950 and 1999 and found something pretty shocking. Our food was getting less nutritious. Across 43 common fruits and vegetables, there were significant drops in protein, calcium, iron, you name it. We were growing way more food, but that food was becoming emptier. And that drop in food quality, Alex, has had a direct and, frankly, a devastating impact on our health. The industrial system cares about yield, shelf life, and how well something ships. This directly led to the rise of ultra-processed foods that are loaded with calories but have almost no real nutrients. And that shift in our diet is now seen as a main driver of the global epidemic of chronic diseases like diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. The cost to the U.S. healthcare system alone is estimated to be $4.1 trillion every single year. Okay, so let's tie these two stories together. On one side, we have a system that degrades soil and produces emptier food. On the other, a massive health crisis. The connection seems pretty obvious, but the biological link is just fascinating. It all comes down to two incredibly complex living ecosystems that are deeply connected. The one under our feet, in the soil, and the one inside our own gut. The connection starts right here, with the soil microbial community, or SMC. Healthy soil isn't just inert dirt. It is a living, breathing city, teeming with billions of bacteria, fungi, and countless other microscopic critters. You can really think of it as the Earth's digestive system. These microbes are the engines that break down organic matter and make nutrients available in a form that plants can actually use. Without a diverse, thriving SMC, you just can't grow healthy, nutrient-rich plants, period. And now, let's look at that second ecosystem, the one inside every single one of us, the human gut microbiome. We're talking about trillions of microbes living in our digestive system. For the longest time, we just ignored them. But now we know this internal community is absolutely essential for our health. It impacts our digestion, our immune system, our hormones, and even our mental health and our mood. And just like the soil, our internal ecosystem is incredibly sensitive to what we feed it. So here it is, the whole chain of well-being that connects us right back to the earth. Regenerative practices, like the ones used to make Terra, Preta, create a hugely diverse soil microbiome. That living soil then produces more nutrient-dense plants. When we eat that vibrant food, it in turn helps build a more diverse and resilient gut microbiome inside of us, which we know is directly linked to better health and a lower risk of chronic disease. And industrial agriculture, it breaks this chain at the very first link. It sterilizes the soil, and that deficit just cascades all the way up the food chain right to us. The health of our bodies literally begins in the dirt. So rebuilding the planet's soil, that sounds like a massive, overwhelming problem, right? But what's so powerful about the principles behind Terra Preta is that they can be applied anywhere by anyone. The whole idea is just to return organic matter and life back to the soil. So how can an average person, even one without a big farm, start creating their own personal Black Earth at home? You're listening to OOOT with research by El Campesino de la Huerta. And Alex, you're so right. The great news is you don't need a complicated pile or some expensive bin. One of the simplest, most effective ways is trench composting. As you see here, you just dig a trench in your garden, fill it up with your raw kitchen scraps and yard trimmings, and then just cover it back up with the soil. You're basically creating a nutrient bank right underneath your plants, feeding the soil microbes exactly where the roots need it most. Nature does all the work for you. It's incredibly efficient. And if you have a smaller space or you just want to improve a random patch of lawn, there's an even simpler version called the dig and drop method. You literally just dig a hole, drop in your organic waste, cover it back up, and you're done. You can even plant a seedling right on top of it. If you keep doing this simple act around your yard over time, you can systematically regenerate your soil, creating these little pockets of fertility with almost no effort at all. It's a really powerful way to participate in that cycle. These methods are fantastic, Alex, because they're so empowering. But they also make you start thinking bigger, don't they? How do we scale this regenerative thinking up from our individual backyards to our entire communities and our local food systems? That's really the ultimate goal, isn't it? To shift our whole culture from being extractive to being regenerative. It means consciously building what people now call local food sheds that act more like healthy ecosystems. And as this quote shows, this isn't just about soil carbon or microbes. It's about improving human nutrition, promoting social justice by supporting local farms, and making sure everyone in a community can get fresh, healthy food. And this requires a huge systemic change, from national policy all the way down to our own weekly shopping habits. It means supporting local farmers markets, maybe joining a CSA program, and pushing for big institutions like schools and hospitals to buy their food from regional farms. But we can't kid ourselves about the scale of the challenge. I mean, look at this chart. All forms of regenerative and organic farming are currently practiced on less than 2% of global farmland. The industrial model is, well, it's just overwhelmingly dominant. The scale is daunting for sure. But the ancient Amazonians proved that it's possible to create food systems that don't just sustain us, but that actively build fertility and resilience over thousands of years. They could do that because they weren't focused on quarterly profits or maximizing next year's yield. They were focused entirely on the long-term health and cultivation of their local ecosystem. It's a completely different way of thinking about our relationship with the land, a shift from short-term extraction to long-term cultivation. Which brings us right to the final critical question of our investigation. It isn't just about what composting techniques we can use in our gardens. It's about the culture and the mindset we can build together. How can we apply that ancient, long-term, slow-growth wisdom to cultivate not just healthy soil, but healthy, resilient, and well-nourished communities for generations to come? That's our investigation for this time. I'm Alex.
And I'm Ben. Thanks for joining us on Odo.